Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my Iceberg series. Today I have by far my most sinister iceberg yet. If you are unfamiliar with what an iceberg video is, the visible surface of the iceberg will contain the more known tame subjects. However, as we dive deeper down the iceberg, the stories become more unknown and far more sinister. Thank you all for the support on the series, and I must warn you that some of the topics we will discuss are very serious and sinister, therefore viewer discretion is advised. Let's dive in. Surface level. Copa Libertadores aggression. Copa Libertadores sets the scene for some of South America's biggest derbies. A match between Gremio and Internacional back in 2020 descended into chaos following a mass MMA-style brawl which consequently saw 8 red cards dished out. The pure passion in South American football is a common theme which will become evident throughout the video. Liga 3 Alcas 1. This was an Ecuadorian league match known as the Clásico de la Neblina or Fog Clásico, where the match ended at the 85th minute because the visibility had got so poor that the spectators couldn't see the pitch and the players couldn't even see each other. Bolivia 6, Argentina 1. Argentina's national team under the leadership of Diego Maradona faced a crushing defeat against Bolivia in a South American World Cup qualifier. The match, which took place in Bolivia's capital, ended with a staggering 6-1 score in favour of the hosts. This marked Argentina's worst defeat in over 60 years. Boca Juniors versus River Plate. This Super Clásico between two Argentinian giants, in my opinion, is the most fierce and important derby in world football. Every single game, you just know it is going to kick off big time, not just between the fans, but on the pitch as well. I might even do a whole separate video going into the depth of the rivalry and its significance, so let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. VAR robbery. In June 2021, for a World Cup qualifier, Jonathan Rodriguez had a goal wrongly disallowed versus Paraguay, as the VAR said a Uruguayan player was offside despite him not being involved with the goal. The VAR and assistant in that match faced a suspension from CONMEBOL matches. High altitude. The high altitude football controversy began in May 2007 when FIFA imposed a temporary ban on international matches at altitudes more than 2,500 meters above sea level. This ban was due to concerns about players' health and the perceived unfair advantage for the acclimatized home teams, which meant Bolivia, Ecuador and Colombia could not host FIFA World Cup qualifiers in their capital cities. This ban was eventually revoked a year later. Age fraud. An Ecuadorian footballer, real name Angel Caim, played the majority of his professional career as Gonzalo Chila, which was the real name of a player 3 years his junior, whom he had met when they both had trials at a local club, thus enabling him to play in age-restricted matches for 3 years after he was entitled to do so. He was eventually suspended for 2 years. Byron Castillo. In 2017, Barcelona SC player Byron Castillo, who represented Ecuador's under-20 squad, faced allegations of being fully Colombian and no part Ecuadorian whatsoever. Accused of birth document fraud in 2019, he was sidelined until 2021 when an investigation confirmed his Ecuadorian nationality. Despite a complaint to FIFA in 2022, an investigation cleared Ecuador for the World Cup. However, there were later revealed discrepancies in Castillo's documents. FIFA reopened the case and affirmed Castillo's Colombian birth, but recognised his Ecuadorian nationality. Ecuador consequently faced a fine and point deduction for using false information in World Cup qualifiers. El Maracanazo. The Maracanazo of the Chilean team was an incident which took place in a 1990 World Cup qualifier between Brazil and Chile. After a goalless first half, Caressa of Brazil scored the only goal in the 49th minute. However, in the 66th 87th minute, Chilean goalkeeper Roberto Rojas claimed to be injured by a flare thrown by Brazilian fans. The injury, to be fair, seemed somewhat believable as Rojas was bleeding. This led to Chilean players leaving the pitch in protest. Patricio Yanez also made an obscene gesture to Brazilian fans during the incident. Subsequent investigations revealed that the flare did not hit Rojas and he had faked the injury by cutting himself with a razor blade. It was part of a plan orchestrated by the Chilean coach and team doctor to force a scandal and nullify the game's result. The FIFA decision banned Rojas in perpetuity and barred Chile from the 1994 World Cup qualifiers. Pirata FC. This second division Peruvian side famously revealed a badge with the face of Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. Due to inevitable copyright issues after reaching the 2018 Copa Peru final group stage, the club changed the badge to a generic pirate drawing. However, this image was also removed from the club's social media due to more copyright infringement. In the anticipation of the final group stage match, the team unveiled a badge featuring a new image of a Jack Sparrow lookalike. It is unknown what the club's specific obsession with Jack Sparrow is, but if I had to take a guess, it is some very clever marketing which truly makes the club stand out in Peru. Shallow waters. Sandro Hiroshi. In 1999, while playing for Sao Paulo, Hiroshi became embroiled in a controversy over his transfer rights between Tocantinópolis and Rio Branco. The dispute led to the Brazilian Football Confederation blocking his transfer rights. After a match against Botafogo, which Sao Paulo won 6-1, Botafogo contested the result, arguing that Hiroshi's participation was invalid due to that transfer dispute. The Sports Justice Court sided with Botafogo, annulling the match and awarding them the 3 points Sao Paulo had earned. Internacional also successfully appealed to avoid a match result against Sao Paulo, causing further point deductions. These outcomes led to Botafogo avoiding relegation, with Gama relegated instead. Gama then protested the decision, resulting in messy legal proceedings that prevented the organisation of the 2000 Campeonato Brasileiro, replaced by Copa Avalanche. Look, an investigation revealed that Hiroshi had played with falsified documents showing a different birth year. CBF then suspended Hiroshi and banned him from the sport for 180 days. However, this did not affect the decisions regarding the match results in the Campeonato Brasileiro. Claypole 2, Victoria Arenas 0. In 2011, a notable football match in the Argentinian 5th tier gained attention when an intense local derby in Buenos Aires escalated into chaos. From the outset, the game was marked by challenges and a tussle within the first 10 minutes, resulting in a red card for the Victoriano striker. As tensions flared, Claypole took the lead 1-0. Subsequent altercations, including one between a Victoriano player and a coach, led to more altercations and further red cards. The situation reached a boiling point with fights involving players, substitutes and coaches from both teams. The referee, unable to maintain control, called the police and the game was eventually abandoned. Despite the chaos, the referee managed to enter each locker room and issue red cards to all players involved. Remarkably, a total of 36 football players and coaches received red cards, setting a record for the most red cards in football history. Southampton 1904. In 1904, English side Southampton FC toured South America to play a series of friendly matches in Argentina. They would be followed by other English and Scottish clubs that visited the region, contributing to the spread and develop of football in South America during the first years of the 20th century. Discogate. In December 2019, a football scandal involving the Peru national team emerged when young talent Kevin Quevedo was found to have attended a disco party in Lima instead of joining the training for the 2020 CONMEBOL pre-Olympic tournament. Although Quevedo was not yet a member of the senior squad, he was influenced by 3 senior members: Andy Polo, Jefferson Farfan, a name which we'll come to later, and Raul Ruidiaz. Consequently, Quevedo was suspended from the Olympic team by the FPF. The Peru Olympic team affected by this incident finished at the bottom of the qualifying stage and so missed out on the 2020 Summer Olympics. Casino scandal. Another Peruvian indiscipline scandal occurred in October 2010 after a friendly against Panama. 3 members of the Peru team, including Raymond Manco and John Galiquio, were photographed breaking their concentration to attend a casino. The third player's identity was initially undisclosed, but later revealed to be Jefferson Farfan by a local Peruvian sports newspaper, the same Farfan who influenced a young Kevin Quevedo to attend a disco. Funnily enough, Farfan was accused by Manco and Galiquio of also encouraging the group to attend the casino, disregarding coach Sergio Marcarian's orders for them to stay in their rooms for the rest of their stay in Panama. Plane crash. This entry refers to Lamia Flight 2933, a charter flight carrying the Brazilian football team Chapecoense. The plane tragically crashed near Medellin, Colombia in 2016, leading to the deaths of 71 of the 77 people on board. The underdog Chapeco team was en route to the Copa Sudamericana finals, a journey that ended in disaster. In a twist of fate, Lionel Messi had flown on the same aircraft just 2 weeks before the crash. I have done a separate video going into more depth about the tragedy and looking at the history and rebuilding of Chapecoense. Sao Paulo 2, Tigre 0. In the 2023 Copa Sudamericana final, Sao Paulo led 2-0 against Tigre at halftime. However, the match took a shocking turn when Sao Paulo supporters had allegedly threatened the Argentine team with guns. Fearing for their safety, Tigre refused to return to the pitch for the second half. This resulted in Sao Paulo being declared the winners and lifting the trophy. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. However, what remains is a chilling reminder of the dangers that can overshadow the beautiful game. Copa How Havelange final. The Copa How Havelange final was a thrilling two-legged match that determined the winner of the 45th season of the Campeonato Brasileiro Serie A. Vasco da Gama clinched the championship for the 4th time by defeating São Caetano with an aggregate score of 4-2. The final was initially set to take place at São Januário, but was later moved to the Maracanã. São Caetano, a club founded just over 10 years prior, reached the final after eliminating traditional clubs like Fluminense, Palmeiras and Grêmio. However, the return leg was marred by an incident where about 150 people were injured due to a commotion in the stands. The match was suspended and rescheduled, underscoring the importance of safety in football, not just in Brazil, but the rest of the continent. Gabriel Fernandes. Gabriel Fernandes was a Uruguayan professional footballer. In 2018, he was involved in a tragic traffic collision in Montevideo. The accident left an 18-year-old girl in a vegetative state. Fernandes had allegedly been speeding at 60 kilometers per hour in a 45 speed limit zone. Consequently, the incident led to a court case with the judge prohibiting him from leaving the country without permission and setting a work-dependent curfew. Ronaldinho politics. Oh man, in July 2017, football legend Ronaldinho found himself in the midst of controversy when he was pictured with Russian leader Ramzan Kadyrov. Kadyrov's regime had been accused of rounding up and torturing homosexual people. The photo, which showed both men giving a thumbs up, sparked outrage. It's unclear whether Ronaldinho was aware of the claims surrounding Ramzan Kadyrov at the time of their meeting, and Ronaldinho never made a public response. The depths. Argentina 6, Peru 0. In a critical World Cup match, Argentina defeated Peru 6-0, securing their qualification to the next round. However, suspicions arose about the legitimacy of the score. Argentina, Brazil, Poland and Peru were in the same group, with Peru already eliminated. Argentina needed to win by at least 4 goals to advance, and the goal difference would be crucial. The controversy stems from the order in which the matches were played. FIFA instructed expected Brazil to play against Poland before Argentina faced Peru. This meant that Argentina knew exactly how many goals they needed to qualify, giving them an advantage. The World Cup was hosted in none other than Argentina, intensifying allegations of a conspiracy. Some suggest that Peru may have been influenced to let Argentina score the required goals. This entry will show us part of a bigger picture as we go down the iceberg. Alianza Lima. In December 1987, a plane carrying the Alianza Lima football team crashed into the Pacific Ocean, killing all but one of the 44 on board. The team had just won a crucial match and was returning home when a landing gear malfunction led to a tragic miscalculation, causing the plane to fly too low and crash. This disaster deeply impacted Peruvian football, and in the aftermath of the disaster, Chilean football club Colo-Colo stepped in to help. They kindly transferred 4 of their players to Alianza Lima to help rearm the team, and this act of solidarity and resilience allowed Alianza Lima to continue in the tournament. Flamengo 2, Atletico Mineiro 2. In the 1981 Serie A game between Flamengo versus Atletico Mineiro, the game was suspended at 2-2, with the referee sending off 6 players. This suspension led to Flamengo being crowned as the group winner. Despite the unusual circumstances, there's no evidence to suggest the game was fixed, and this match remains one of the most wildest in football history. Can I just say though, this also has to be the wildest pitch design I think I've ever seen. Fake footballer Carlos Kaiser, also known as the football illusionist, is, I guess, a Brazilian former footballer whose career is as intriguing as it is unconventional. Born in 1963, Kaiser managed to maintain a professional football career for over 2 decades despite a remarkable secret: he was never really interested in football. Kaiser cleverly manipulated his way through the football world, gaining contracts with numerous clubs in Brazil and beyond. His talent lay not in scoring goals or making impressive plays on the field, but in his ability to convince coaches and managers that he was a valuable asset. Kaiser was notorious for faking injuries, pretending to be unfit for matches, and employing other creative tactics to avoid playing. Instead, he focused on building relationships with influential figures in the football industry. His charisma and charm allowed him to secure contracts with giant teams such as Flamengo, Fluminense, and Vasco da Gama, despite never stepping onto the pitch. The illusion persisted for years, and it wasn't until the late 1980s that someone could smell a rat and the truth began to unravel. If you look at his Wikipedia page, his statistics are hilarious. 1978 World Cup Argentina. This specific competition, known as the dirtiest World Cup of all time, was due to the recent military coup and oppressive political climate. The military dictatorship known as the National Reorganization Process had taken control just 2 years prior, leading to human rights abuses and political turmoil. The infamous High School of Mechanics of the Navy held concentration camp prisoners, and reports suggested that captives could hear the cheers from nearby matches. This raised parallels with historical instances of political manipulation of sports, reminiscent of Hitler's actions during the 1936 Olympics and 1934 FIFA World Cup. The Netherlands and other countries considered boycotting the event, but ultimately all teams participated. Dutch star Johan Cruyff, however, refused to partake, citing personal reasons related to a kidnapping attempt on his family. Argentina's host advantage, controversial decisions in matches, and suspicions of match fixing cast doubt on the legitimacy of their eventual victory, including the 6-0 win over Peru, which I mentioned earlier in the video. The tournament remains remembered for its political backdrop and contentious circumstances. Witch doctors. 13 Peruvian witch doctors performed a spiritual ceremony in Lima to bless Peru's national team in their 2022 World Cup playoff against Australia. The ritual involved dancing, singing, and attacking a picture of the Socceroos with swords, aimed to diminish Australia's skills and boost Peru's chances. Past instances included a 2017 curse on New Zealand and Australia's 1969 involvement with a witch doctor. Unfortunately for Peru, the playoff ended with Australia winning 5-4 on penalties, securing their spots in the World Cup. The Whistle Mafia. The Whistle Mafia scandal in Brazilian football, which was exposed in 2005, involved investors bribing referees Adilson Pereira de Carvalho and Paulo Jose de Nilon to manipulate match outcomes for betting games. The Supreme Court of Sport and Justice nullified 11 matches refereed by Adilson, leading to legal battles and appeals from the affected clubs. Despite conflicting court orders, Corinthians were declared the 2005 champion. Paulo Jose de Nilon faced no annulments for refereeing 4 second division matches and 22 Paulista Championship matches. 2 matches were initially suspected of being fixed, but the Sao Paulo Football Sporting Justice Court upheld the results, except for the 2 suspected ones. Both referees received lifetime bans and the gambling ringleader was arrested. Chile, USSR, 1974. In 1974, following a brutal military coup in Chile, the new regime utilized the national stadium as a camp, conducting executions and purging left-wing citizens. The USSR, appalled by these atrocities, refused to play in protest. FIFA's inspection, marred by deception, allowed the match to proceed. Chile, walking the ball into an empty net, claimed victory, but the tainted triumph couldn't erase the dark reality that unfolded within those blood-soaked walls. Banner on the moon. Independiente holds the esteemed title of being the most successful team in Copa Libertadores history. The club's stature is so monumental that it transcended earthly boundaries. In 1969, during the Apollo 11 mission that marked humanity's first steps on the moon, Independiente made a historic move by sending a banner of the club with Neil Armstrong. The significance was not merely symbolic, as all 3 astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, were honoured as members of the club. Full kits were dispatched to them, and indeed, Neil Armstrong proudly displayed Independiente's banner during the historic moonwalk. Maracanã Stadium disaster. A grandstand at Rio de Janeiro's Maracanã Stadium collapsed just minutes before the 1992 Campeonato Brasileiro Serie A final, injuring at least 60 people. Fortunately, none of the injuries were serious, though some individuals sustained fractures, including 6 children. The final, which was between Flamengo and Botafogo, proceeded as planned, resulting in a 5-2 aggregate and securing the championship for Flamengo. The collapse was attributed to a combination of overcrowding and deficiencies in the design and construction of the grandstand. The Abyss. Cabana shooting. In January of 2010, Paraguayan footballer Salvador Cabanas was shot in the head during an altercation in a Mexico City nightclub with a member of a cartel. The motive was initially reported as a taunting incident, but Cabanas' ex-wife claimed it was a reaction to a robbery. Cabanas himself suggested that the attack aimed to prevent him from playing in the World Cup and Paraguay from winning. He described a near-death experience after being shot, where he believed he spoke with God, who advised him to enjoy life and help others. 2 years after the assault, in January 2012, Cabanas remarkably returned to football with Paraguayan 3rd Division club at 12 de Octubre. Owl incident. During a Colombian league game between Junior de Barranquilla and Deportivo Pereira, Junior's unofficial mascot Owl entered the field and was hit by a flying ball. The opposing player, Moreno, kicked the injured Owl about 3 meters towards the touchline, initially claiming he was trying to make it fly away, but later admitting it was due to tension on the field. The Owl was treated for injuries, but later died from stress relation. Moreno received a 2-match ban, a $560 fine, and was ordered to cover veterinary costs. Funnily enough, and this is true, he also had to perform community service at a zoo, Zarate. In 2014, ex-Argentine youth international Alexis Zarate was arrested after an incident took place in which he raped his teammate's girlfriend as he slept next to her. Due to the conviction, Zarate fled the country and began playing professional football in Latvia. It took 8 long years and many appeals to the Supreme Court before Zarate was finally imprisoned on a 6.5-year sentence in 2022. Kenneth Cerameta. Numerous Venezuelan players have courageously stepped forward to reveal disturbing accounts of SH and abuse inflicted upon them by coach Kenneth Cerameta. These athletes have bravely recounted explicit instances of misconduct during their tenure under Cerameta's coaching, encompassing various forms of non-consensual activity. Shockingly, a teammate disclosed enduring SA at the hands of coach Cerameta since the tender age of 14. As I tried to research more into this case, there was a lot of strangely deleted and censored information, which means this sinister story is kept very quiet and there is no contradicting evidence. Narco football. In the 1980s, Colombian football experienced a meteoric rise, largely due to the influx of narco money. Infamous Lord Pablo Escobar invested heavily in teams like Atlético Nacional, leading to their unprecedented success in tournaments like the Libertadores. This period, often referred to as narco football, saw Colombian football gain international recognition. However, this golden era had a dark side. The sport was used for money laundering, and the teams became pawns in the power games of the cartels. The tragic death of Andres Escobar, a professional footballer, in 1994, reportedly as retaliation for scoring an own goal in the World Cup, which I did a separate video about on my channel, highlighted the dangerous nexus between football and the underworld. Brazilian child abuse. Brazil has been rocked by an ongoing child abuse scandal within its football community. Reports of SA involving a prestigious football club and its football academy have surfaced. The power of football in Brazil is significant, often seen as a ticket out of poverty for many families. This makes speaking out abuse in the sport an act of immense courage. The victims, young hopefuls dreaming of a break in football, are often caught in a web of fear and ambition, and this scandal has exposed the darker side of the sport, highlighting the urgent need for stringent safeguards to protect young athletes. Ignacio Iraneta. Ignacio Iraneta, a former Argentine professional footballer, was charged with the alleged SA of his 3-year-old niece in January 2019. After being a fugitive for almost a month, Iraneta appeared in court and was released on bail until final sentencing. Despite the serious charges, Iraneta maintained his innocence, and the case, which sent shockwaves through the football community, is currently ongoing and is close to trial. This incident once again underscores the urgent need for safeguards in sports to protect the vulnerable. Argentinian youth coach. High-profile female footballers have alleged bullying, misconduct, and harassment against a coach at the Argentine FA. The victims, many of whom were teenagers, have accused the coach of threatening them with SV, asking inappropriate questions about their S preferences, and using sexist and homophobic language. FIFA is currently investigating these allegations, while the Argentina FA have been criticised for trying to sweep the allegations under the carpet. If I have missed any stories, such as the tragic Estadio Nacional disaster, they may have been included in the Iceberg video on your screen now.